wait when Furnitureland has a huge selection available for immediate delivery. 3-piece suites, dining and living room furniture. And check out the first floor selection of amazing beds too. All from Furnitureland, Carpetland, West Street, Ramsey.
Cowley Groves offer free post-lockdown property advice and assistance island-wide. With super competitive rates, high-quality video marketing, unrivaled social media presence and on-call 24-hour professional service. Call 625 888 today.
Air Mowers have moved to Unit 2, Jerby Industrial Estate, with loads more choice all under one roof. Husqvarna auto mowers, battery and petrol chainsaws, hedge trimmers, strimmers, mowers and all your gardening needs. Call Air Mowers on 898 589.
The Mannin Line with Andy Wint, furnished by Magic Carpets.
Good afternoon, it's 6 minutes past 12. The Mannin Line is open line through till 1 o'clock today. And the Chief Minister is with us. If you want to get in touch, text 166 177, email studio@manxradio.com, or you can call 66 13 68. It seems a long, long time ago when the state of emergency was declared on the Isle of Man. The morning of Monday, March 16th. And the interim period that we've had that's, well, halfway between reality and fantasy half the time. And one man who's been right in the middle of it, and physically in the middle of it at one time as well, Howard Quayle, MHK, your Chief Minister. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Andy. Fast am I, everyone.
Good to be with you today, and good to see you in person as well, having done it over the phone a few times.
Yes, we have, haven't we? It seems like a lifetime ago, but yes, it's been. We've done 2 or 3 of these now, haven't we? And it's been good feedback and very enjoyable. So it's good to speak to everyone.
So 55 days, no confirmed positive tests. Could you have anticipated this position?
No, well, obviously it's a position we wanted to get this to steer the island into, but I didn't think we'd get there as quickly as we did. Obviously, we can't be complacent. We're in a good position now, but I've sort of prepared myself that we will have the odd case reappear on the Isle of Man with travel onto the island, but with the quarantine period that we've implemented, the 14 days, we should catch it there. We can't stay like Brigadoon, if those of you who know the old musical, forever. My number one aim is to protect life on the Isle of Man and make sure that all our vulnerable people especially are protected. However, if we have an economy that crashes and burns, then we'll have no money to protect our vulnerable. So trying to get that balance right is incredibly hard, Andy. And there's no sort of reference book that you take off the shelf and go to page 25, subsection 3A, which tells you this is what you do for a situation like this. You've got to go along and do your best as you experience it.
How quickly did you, Comin, the government, find its feet when this started? I mean, I understand there was provision for this. There have been plans. Yes,
well, we've been planning for this in February. So we had been, I have a team, a gold team, we call it, gold command team. We'd been burning the midnight oil, 100-hour weeks in the build up to it to try and get things as well prepared as possible. So that when it did get really bad in the UK and we were concerned it was going to get onto the Isle of Man, we were able to set up the 111 COVID hotline pretty quick. Now, we'd been told it would take months to set it up. I think we did it in a week. It was phenomenal, the speed with which we've moved, and it shows that government can work together, and we need to take some of the good, the achievements out of this and make sure that government continues to improve its way of doing cross-departmental work. So, yes, it's been, I suppose, since February we were planning, and because obviously we had to. You don't just shut down a hospital and cancel operations. You've got to transfer emergency work down to Ramsey, for example. Ramsey District Cottage Hospital did a sterling job of doing the day-to-day emergency department work so that we could free up space at Noble. So the planning that went into altering theatres into potential intensive care, additional bed space, etc., that was an awful lot of work. But equally, coming out of that situation, it's taken more work than actually shutting something down, getting services back at Noble's Hospital, for example, back online, it has taken an awful lot of hard work. So it's not stopping, and just at the time when you think, well, maybe life's easing a little bit for maybe a window of opportunity, Brexit has reared its ugly head again with major negotiations all this month, and I'm obviously having to work behind the scenes on that.
Okay, to the lines now. Here comes Leo, I think. And Leo, you're live with the Chief Minister.
Hi, Chief Minister. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I'm a genetics and microbiology student, and I'm just coming back to the island, completing my isolation and all staying safe, protecting the community. My question to you is about the new plans for border control.
Mm-hmm.
So what I'm curious about is what made you take the decision to allow those who are the most at risk of bringing COVID back to the island to isolate with others who can then leave their house, not forgetting how common asymptomatic cases are? And are you ready to be part of those responsible for potentially causing a second wave?
Right, well, I suppose at the end of the day, the buck stops with me, no matter whether it's good or bad. If it's good, it's someone else's idea. If it's bad, it's my idea. We worked on advice from our medics on this one. If you go back to, if you weren't on the Isle of Man in March, this is what we were operating at the time. People were coming back to the Isle of Man before we closed our borders for a short period of time, and were self-isolating at home, but their family members did not have to self-isolate. It's a system we've successfully implemented for all our patient transfers. We've never stopped our patient transfers from going off island for treatment, coming back, and they have self-isolated, but their family haven't, because otherwise some family members would be in permanent lockdown, because sadly some people need to go away for specialist treatment on a regular basis. It's worked well for us. I would give you an example. Our good friends, I know I'm speaking later today to the Chief Minister of Guernsey, they have been implementing this for over a month, where they allow their locals to go off island, but they have to quarantine when they come back. So we are doing something which other jurisdictions have done and have been successful at. We can't stay locked down forever. We've got to allow the economy to open up, or we will crash and burn. There's no point saving everyone and then having no money coming in to pay from taxes or from businesses to fund.
And this is the key. At some point, a risk has to be taken.
Well, everything we've done is a risk. Quite ironically, I know in the early days when we opened up construction industry, the emails I got, you would not believe that it was an incredibly bad move. We had that doctor who filmed himself doing a shift in 1, 2 o'clock in the morning saying how bad it was. I was swamped, literally swamped, Andy, with emails of people who disagreed with that.
You opened, it was construction, horticulture and window cleaning, wasn't it?
Yes, that's right. And it worked. It was a step. It was an educated step, again, with medical, our medics had looked at it. And we obviously look at the infection rate in the United Kingdom. Now, it's now 1 in 3,900, which we'd said moving from stage 5 to stage 4 from a borders point of view, we would look at once they got 1 in 2,000. So we waited that little bit extra, got it to 1 in 3,900. Yes, it's a risk. Everything we do regarding COVID is a risk, but equally there's no point everyone was not having any cases but having no economy. We've got to try and get that balance right, and if it works, I'll get away with it, and if it goes wrong, it'll be 100% my fault. I accept that.
Former MHK Dominic Delaney is with us. Good afternoon, Dominic.
Good afternoon, and good afternoon to you. Good afternoon, Howard.
Good afternoon,
Dominic.
Dominic.
For taking up your time. I know how important it is to speak to the people. I brought to your ministers, some 3 months ago, a problem which will be facing a lot of people on fixed incomes in the Isle of Man, and the elderly and infirm. It's where Boots the chemist, who brought in people into their business and with the free delivery charge, who are now charging £5 per time to households. I wonder if I can ask you, having you got no real response from your ministers, and as I've not been in good best of health myself, if you can look at this and get something done so that the people who are infirm, the sick, and the elderly are not left on the shelf due to the money you'll be requiring to run the rest of the island during this pandemic.
So can I just clarify, Dominic, you're saying now that Boots are delivering their medicines, but they're charging £5 for doing it. So
they always were delivering for the last year, but they're charging £5 for each delivery, and that means that's a tax on health.
Right, well, obviously it's something I can take up with the Minister for Health and Social Care. I know we were working with third sector charities to see if they could help, and we were asking neighbours if they were passing by to help a neighbour. And I know friends who are sadly in the position where they have to shield, where the neighbours around them were going out and getting food for them and dropping off medicines, etc., picking up for them. So I can look into it, Dominic, and I will ask the relevant ministers, who I can imagine, to get back to you.
You're looking into it, but the point is, you've missed the point, Howard, is that at the moment it started, and the people on fixed incomes, just pension, for example, or supplementary, will be paying anything up to £110, £120 a year, which is virtually a week's income, to Boots to get the things delivered.
Well, it's, as I say, you've caught me on the hop. It's not something I was aware of. I'll look into it, Dominic. Obviously, Boots have a decision to make. They've got to run a business, and if it costs them £5 to deliver, then that will be their charge. We'll have to look to see if there's another way of helping those people who can't afford to pay the £5 delivery fee.
OK, Dominic, keep us in touch with that, would you? It'd be nice to know how it finishes up. Elizabeth, you're live with the Chief Minister.
Oh, hello there. I'm wondering how the government thinks that this new telephone triage arrangements for the doctors is going to work well. The fundamental of medicine is to observe the person, is to see the person. And that's not going to happen. And I think people don't realise, I think they think it's just for the COVID period. They don't realise that this is the sort of medicine practice that is going to be brought in all the time. Having been a victim of it, I obviously feel strongly, had I not needed to go to the doctors, I wouldn't really have been aware that this sort of triage is what you're planning.
Well, Elizabeth, that's news to me. Obviously, when the COVID was at its peak, it was not safe for people to go into doctor surgeries because they could have been spreading it to everyone else that went in there. But I know if you ring up and you speak to your doctor's surgery, they will assess whether you need to come on in to be seen or whether a doctor can ring you and deal with your issue over the phone. But I'm not aware of anyone that needs to see a doctor not seeing a doctor. So we won't be bringing in a system where you can't see a doctor and it's over the phone. Obviously, that had to happen for a period during COVID, but I know GP surgeries where you were able to drive outside and the member of staff would come out, the nurse or doctor would come out to see you if it was felt necessary. So I don't know where you're getting the fact that we're moving to going to see a GP and it's got to be done over the phone. That's not the situation. OK, a couple of messages from our answer phone for the Chief Minister now.
Please can you ask Chief Minister Howard Quayle today why at level 4 does the whole household not have to isolate if one or more persons leave the island? Having done my own survey in the area where I live, Ballabeg, I can categorically say that 100% of the people I have spoken to have said that it is irresponsible and that they themselves would self-isolate with any other member who would leave the island. I think it should be mandatory and needs to be revisited before the 20th. I would welcome the Chief Minister's comments. I look forward to hearing his reply later today. Thank you.
The lady from Ballabeg.
Right, well, I think I touched on this at the start of the interview. First and foremost, it's what we were doing back in March. B, this is suggested has been approved by our medics. C, we've been doing this from day one for anyone who's been going away for medical treatment, and we've not had a case brought onto the island that's infected everyone. So D, it's already been trialled and is activated by our good friends in Guernsey, who are probably 10 days ahead of us, if not more, on no cases. They've been doing this for a little while now. E, yes, you don't just waltz in home and then you go and sit in the settee with the rest of the family. You are required to self-isolate in your room. If you have a separate bathroom, then use that separate bathroom. If you have to share a bathroom, then you're expected to clean it. If you have to share a room with anyone, you're expected to wear a mask and gloves and use hand wash. So it's not just come home and be a normal member of the family for that period in time. We've already been doing this. It's been happening elsewhere. It's if you've got a business family and someone's got to go away on a business trip and they come back to their home, then their family entire family of workers will then be forced to shut down. Now, if you show symptoms, then the family is automatically shut down and for the remaining period of time whilst the tests are done, etc. So it is a risk. It's a gamble. But if we don't make changes, we're going to yes, we'll stay in that comfortable position of having no cases, but we'll have an economy that's absolutely tanked and we'll have no money coming in to fund the services that people want. So trying to get this balance right is really hard. Now, they've opened up in the United Kingdom. When they've still got cases, we've been making all these changes when we've had no cases for 55 plus days, and it'll be 60 days when we bring in this rule. But if everyone complies with it, we won't have a problem. If they don't comply and they're caught, then there are pretty draconian sentences for people, up to £10,000 fine or 3 months in prison or a combination of both. And we will be doing checks on people when they come back to ensure that they have complied with. But I do get everyone's concerns. This is probably the biggest complaint I get at the moment in time. It wasn't that we moved from stage 5 to stage 4. Most people were happy with that. It was the self-isolation point, and we go on advice from our medics and looking elsewhere. So it's not an easy one. It was a tough decision, but we've got at some stage to move forward.
Howard Quayle, MHK, our Chief Minister, with us today. You can text 166 177, email studio@manxradio.com. Oh, you can call 66 13 68. We're open line through till 1 today.
This is the Isle of Man talking, the Mannin line.
And of course, email studio@manxradio.com if you wish. Get a question in as soon as you can. If you want, we'll try and get them in before 1 today.
Manx Radio. The Pasco's Electrical Appliance Showroom is now open and operating to current safety guidelines. Alongside doorstep deliveries, we can now undertake electrical appliance installations, subject to a risk assessment. If you still can't make it to the showroom, don't worry. Just call 676066 or email pascos@manx.net and we can organise order and payment contact-free. Stay safe from all of us at Pasco's of Tremode, your island's premier electrical appliance retailer.
Now there are new essentials on your shopping list. You want enhanced hygiene permanently. You want to shop nearby and not overpay. You want open till 10 to avoid peak time queues and special hours for the elderly and vulnerable. You want to do the right thing and support Manx jobs and businesses. You want shopping with a welcome difference, like ranges by Sainsbury's. Where can you find every one of the new essentials? ShopRite. Proudly locally owned.
Welcome to the Miller Chaps of Ramsey Summer Sale, where you'll find fabulous reductions throughout the store. From beds and flooring to sofas, cane furniture and accessories, rugs, pictures, mirrors and even wallpapers. Plus, the friendly Miller Chaps team are here as always with a warm welcome and expert help and advice when needed. Don't miss the Miller Chaps of Ramsey Summer Sale, now on.
Creating a home where you'll love to be. Miller Chaps of Ramsey.
This This year you can enjoy the Manx Heritage Transport Festival from the comfort of your chair with a range of virtual events from the 29th of July to the 2nd of August. Events include a celebration of 125 years of the Snaefell Mountain Railway, a Grand Victorian adventure, virtual tours, presentations and much more. For full details, search Manx Heritage Transport Festival online, visit rail.im or call 662525.
Whatever your profession, achieve success with ambitions. Trust ambitions.
So what direction are you going to take after uni? Your prospects are exciting and daunting at the same time. So why not give us a call at Ambitions Employment Agency? We can show you some great opportunities on the island. Come and see us for a free, no-obligation chat.
Whatever your profession, call 614-841.
There are still a hatful of ifs and buts and maybes.
We won't really know what the position is, I think, until sort of September, October.
But the economic position we're in as a nation will become a little clearer in the July tin wall.
We'll be trying to deal with that with a new economic plan, which we'll be bringing forward alongside the budget update in July.
This budget is not about prosperity, it's about survival. It's about jobs, your business, your family. Alf Cannon will tell us his plan on Tuesday, July the 21st, and when he sits down, Manx Radio will start the process of analysing where it leaves us. It's your future we're talking about.
The Man in Line with Andy Wint, furnished by Magic Carpets.
And we're live on the Man in Line through till 1 o'clock today with the Chief Minister. Barry is with us. Hello, Barry.
Good afternoon.
Hi, Barry.
Good afternoon, Chief Minister.
Good afternoon. What can we do for you, Barry?
I want to just a brief chat, please, about Victoria Street taxi rank, particularly between the hours of 11 p.m. and 1 a.m. Saturday night into a Sunday morning. You may or may not know I'm a taxi on I rank. We apply for hire on a Victoria Street rank regularly, but there's particularly between them hours, between 11 p.m. and 1 a.m., there can be a high element of antisocial behaviour down there. In my experience, and certainly 2 to 3 weeks ago, there was quite a serious incident happened on the rank down there with around a taxi as well, where some poor chap had to be taken away in an ambulance. I have contacted the police on this. I've sent in an email and I've made a couple of phone calls. And unfortunately, to this point in time, I've had no response. But this is what I believe could be a way forward with this. The police they don't wear high vis for some reason out and about at the weekends. I've no idea why. I know when TT is on and certainly the bigger festivals, they tend to wear high vis quite a lot. But certainly weekends now they don't. So they tend to be sort of hiding or almost sort of hid away out of public sight. But I do believe that there would be a major benefit to the public and also a benefit for public safety, if you like, if there was a better police presence down there between them 2 hours, ideally in high vis.
Okay, Barry. Well, first and foremost, as a politician, I can't interfere with the policing. They have to, they are independent. They have to do that themselves. However, I'm more than happy to pass on your comments, Barry, to the Chief Constable, and hopefully he will look into this. It does seem eminently sensible if there is a hot spot of problems. It's disappointing, first and foremost, to hear that there is a problem there, but if there is, then I'm sure they will look at it, but I'll certainly mention it to them. But as I say, politicians cannot get involved with day-to-day policing matters.
OK, thank you, Barry. Here's an email came in, and it's from Lawrence, Chief Minister. A question: with the UK and the rest of Europe opting for a similar stance on social distancing and the wearing of masks in confined places, do you feel it's going to be near impossible to fully reopen the borders without implementing some form of preventative measure, be it quarantine on arrival, social distancing, or the wearing of masks?
Yeah, it's a hard one, Lawrence, because I suppose none of us have that crystal ball about where we're going. I think we're going to have to accept that we're going to have to live with COVID-19 or its cousin COVID-21 or 22 going forward for some considerable time. Now, whether that silver bullet of a vaccine will come out and that will help it, or a new system of testing that works and tells you that you've got it when you're tested. That's probably the one I'm looking forward to, because at the moment the tests we have, they say you've got it when you're exhibiting signs of COVID-19, but you could have COVID-19 for, say, 10 days and still get a negative test. So if a test can come out that tells you on the day you're tested whether you've got it or not, that will significantly reduce the need for us to have we would then be doing border control tests with that test there. So it's all up in the air. I can't give you a straight answer because I don't know myself, but we will have to live with something, whether it be masks or testing at the borders, as I say, if a new test comes in, or the 14 days. I know Guernsey are trialling the 7-day quarantine at home, and then they test you, and if you're negative when they do the test, probably around about day 8, then you're allowed to move around the island of Guernsey, but you're not allowed to go into a restaurant, say, or a cinema or theatre. You've got to keep yourself away from built-up inside areas for the remainder of the 14-day period. Now, if that works, it's something obviously we'll look at on the Isle of Man. So I'm having a weekly meeting now with Gavin St Pierre, the Chief Minister of Guernsey. So lots to look at. Yes, I think we're in this for the long term with some form of border control.
Just one media conference per week. It's tomorrow, Thursday the 16th at 4:00. But I understand you're interactive, I think, this afternoon, aren't you?
Yes, well, we're bringing in this new measure of moving from stage 5 to stage 4 for people on the Isle of Man being able to leave the island to see either family or business trips to then come back to the island. And we've set up a procedure on how this is going to work. It starts on the 20th of July, but I thought it was really important that the border team who are going to be operating this system do a question and answer session. So we've asked James Davis, who ex-Manx Radio, very well known and respected on the Isle of Man, to do a session with the team, which you can then download, where all the sort of questions that we expect to be asked will be answered, those questions by the team to James, and it will just help people understand how it's going to work. Now, obviously, if you don't have access to an online system where you can print off the paperwork yourself, you can call 686-262 for anyone who isn't able to access this. But effectively, anyone can leave the island, but when you come back, you must have filled out a Manx entry permit, putting all your details down, national insurance, tax number, etc., and that will help you come back to the island and fill out all your paperwork. There will be a health declaration which you do up to 48 hours before you arrive back on the island, and then you complete where you're going to isolate and your contact details, so that our team A can ring you up to make sure that you're okay, and B, we will be doing spot checks on people to make sure that they are complying with the rules and regulations.
Okay, a message in from this is Graham, who's in Annika, and just said, could you ask the Chief Minister how the government is going to remedy the democratic deficit in Douglas South at the moment, because Douglas South is virtually without an MHK.
Well, it's not virtually. It isn't. It doesn't have an MHK. Yeah, it's very disappointing that we're in this position. Sadly, we lost. Tragically, we lost my good friend Bill Malarkey, and now Miss Costain has stepped down, and that was with effect from the 13th. So there will be a by-election. I should imagine sometime in August. We haven't got the date signed off yet, whether it'll be August or into September, where the good people of Douglas South will be able to have a by-election for 2 members, though I'm sure any MHK, obviously the Douglas MHKs, I've taken the odd phone call as my constituency borders with elements of Douglas South. We're more than happy between the 24 of us and any MLC to...
So that's so if there's a constituency issue, other MHKs are more than happy to pitch in.
That's right, just as a short term. Obviously, we've all got our own constituency work, but if anyone has a really burning question before the general election, so not the general election, the by-election, then all of us, I'm sure, living nearby, will be more than happy to see what we can do to help with those concerns.
A message in from Mary, and it's something that government's touched on a lot. Obviously, COVID-19 is about physical health, but also Mary just says there are many people who for the past 3+ months now, obviously, have been living in quiet desperation and hope. And lots of people's mental state is distinctly different to what it used to be. you obviously understand that. You know that there are lots of people who are living in dire mental straits at the moment.
Yeah, mental health is something that's sadly increasing in numbers. I know throughout the when we were locked down effectively on the Isle of Man that the service continued, but it had to be over the phone unless there was a serious issue where the team would go out and visit someone. Now, obviously, we're trying to expand that service along with another of other issues. I know I see constituents regularly who are waiting in pain, wanting a hip operation, but mental health is something that is growing in need. We are putting more resources into it. The budget, that's the second budget, what we're calling the Purple Book, will be proposing extra money for our health and social care department where it needs to expand its service going forward, and mental health is something that's been very important to me personally. I mean, 1 in 3 of all of us living on the Isle of Man will experience a mental health issue in our lives, and it can't be a taboo topic. We've got to accept that mental health is just the same as having it's mainstream, and we shouldn't sweep it under the carpet. It's incredibly important that we should look after people with mental health. But that said, we don't have this magic wand of cash, and we're doing our best with the resources that we've got to improve the service. But yeah, it's something that's personally very important to me.
Next Tuesday, obviously, is the budget statement, as you mentioned, and in the middle of all this, money seems to have been doled out. The money that's been there. Normally, it was a tough job to get money out of Treasury, and the resources have been found. Obviously, we have substantial reserves, and again, people will wonder, where will the money come from? Where will our island economy? Obviously, we were locked down for a long time. Now we're back at it, as it were. But is the ship going in the right direction?
Well, I hope it's going in the right direction. We were running with a balanced economy and growing a surplus, so that when we hit 22-23, where the public sector pensions black hole kicks in, we had a surplus ready to absorb that as a cost, and that was on track. That's something, one of the reasons I'd stood as a MHK was to get the economy balanced so that we don't pass a load of debt on to the next generation. Now, obviously, it was a sensible approach to support businesses and people whilst we went through this tough period in time, because from a personal point of view, people losing their jobs, businesses being destroyed, that's a disaster. From a pound, shilling and pence point of view, the government would have had to have supported that with benefits. So I think it was a wise move to step in and spend the level of money, the many millions that we have, to keep businesses going whilst we went through this really difficult position. Now, obviously, our receipts will be down this year and probably into next year, and we are going to have to look at ways of balancing the books, obviously a level of, in case we need it, of borrowing, because the last thing you want to do is sell your assets, your equities, your shares in a depressed market where you have to take a hit on them, and therefore it might be prudent to borrow. And I know the government is looking to get Tynwald permission to allow it to borrow a level of money should it need it going forward. Obviously, then we've got to do our utmost to increase our work on getting the economy to grow our way out of this. I don't really want to bring in increased taxes on people to fund it, and cutting services. We've been doing that for since 2008. So we've obviously got to look at efficiencies, which is something we should always be doing. But growing our way out of this, I hope, is the right way forward. But it's not going to take a few months. It's going to take, I think, the next 2-3 years for us to recover from this, and even maybe long term, depending on how long the COVID pandemic is carried out. Plus the fact you don't know how the UK economy is going to go. 80% of our trade is with the United Kingdom, so we're in this for the long run.
Eve dropped a note in just to say, obviously the steam packet is in public ownership. Why is it going back to full schedule? A week on Friday, the Ben McCree will be to and fro twice, and there'll be Friday to Monday trips from Mannin to Liverpool. If there's not much demand, it's going to cost an awful lot more.
Well, first and foremost, politicians, I was clear when we bought the steam packet that it wasn't for politicians to tell the steam packet how to run their business. Now, from the 20th of this month, we are allowing people to leave the island and then come back under the new borders system, where they'll need a Manx entry permit to do so, but they will be able to leave to see loved ones, business trips, etc. So I should imagine the steam packet have made a decision, well, that's an opportunity for us to increase our services to enable people to take advantage of this change on the 20th of July. So that's a business decision that they've made themselves. We haven't said you must. There's a board there appointed to independently run the steam packet, and as I say, Tynwald doesn't get involved with the day-to-day running.
Because obviously some people, some members of the public don't quite understand where the Chinese walls are, or where the compartmentalisation of the steam packet and government. Does government play any part in the day-to-day running of steam packet?
Well, obviously, if the steam packet wanted to, say, plucking a figure out of there, spend £60 million buying or building a new ship to replace the Ben McCree as an example, then yes, the Treasury, who are there, and through DOI, would be involved with that, and that would be discussed. But the general day-to-day running of the steam packet, the government do not get involved in any way. We wanted this to be arm's length. We bought the steam packet as a strategic purchase to guarantee the links of the Isle of Man to the United Kingdom, are strategic links for freight coming over and our people to move backwards and forwards.
And thank heavens we did have the steam packet. Thank heavens the steam packet was in public ownership when the pandemic hit, because there was no element of ambiguity about what the steam packet was going to be. If it had been a private off-island company that had owned the steam packet, notwithstanding the user agreement, they could have taken a completely different decision.
Yeah, they could have shut down certain days of sailings, and it was really important during the pandemic at its peak, especially in the United Kingdom. We had worries as a government for things like the oxygen supply. Everyone went on about respirators at Nobles Hospital and how many did we have, etc. But it was really the oxygen supply. That was the big gun in the fight for hospitals throughout the UK. And if we needed British Oxygen to come over with their tanker to refill the oxygen tanks at Nobles Hospital. If they couldn't have got over there, or if they'd have been held up for a day before they could get back, then they might have said, well, we're in desperate need throughout the rest of the United Kingdom. Isle of Man, you're on your own. So it was really important that we were able to have an influence on that.
OK, let's get to the lines. And Roger is with us now. Hello, Roger.
Hi, Andy. Good afternoon, Minister.
Good afternoon, Roger.
Chief Minister, should I say. Just a question, please, and I hope you can just help put a stop to the whisper, the Chinese whisper that sweeps around the island. It's in relation to, there's lots of rumours that saying that key workers or a single key worker has come to the island and been tested positive, returning residents or people with special dispensation to return. And I think that's triggered by the recent long queues at the grandstand for testing. Yet on the bulletins, we hear like there's 2 waiting for a test, 3, but there could be 2 or 3 lanes of people. And I think hopefully that 2 and 2 and coming up with 5, but it's just a worry. That's all.
Yeah, I suppose, and thanks for raising this, Roger. It really gives me the opportunity to, to bring this up, because I've seen some of the posting. I even received an email today that an ambulance had been changed from picking someone up who died at home to go and deal with 2 key workers who had COVID-19. And I have to say, it's absolute garbage, or as our beloved President Trump would say, fake news. We have no cases of COVID-19 on the Isle of Man. Touch wood, 55 days. Long may that continue. If we get a case, we will share that information with the people of the Isle of Man. Yes, we're doing tests at the TT Grandstand. We're rolling that out all the time, and there will be times when there is a backlog or there's a big number of people turning up to have those tests. But there are no so far, today, to the best of my knowledge, no cases of COVID-19. So it's sad when someone puts something on. I'm not a big fan of Facebook, but people put something on without any relevance or facts to back it up. They've overheard somebody say something, and as I say, there's one doing the rounds about an ambulance calling to pick up a deceased member of a family, being diverted to pick up 2 people who have COVID, key workers. Now, we wouldn't send an ambulance, a general ambulance, to pick up people people with COVID. A, we've never done it anyway, but B, even if we did, they would have to be specially kitted out to do so. So it's sad when these rumours fly around the island, but no key worker on the Isle of Man with COVID, to the best of my knowledge, as of now.
Well, Manx whispers are part of the charm of the Isle of Man, but certainly not within this context.
Yeah, it's one of those. Why let the truth get in the way of a good story?
I mean, you appear implacable. How do you feel about this stuff that goes round?
It's disappointing. I mean, I've always said I don't mind anyone having a difference of opinion. If you know 100% of the facts, and I know 100% of the facts, and we come to a different conclusion, then I'm absolutely happy with that. I can respect people's views, but some people seem to hear a rumour, believe it as gospel, and go off on a rant on something and say how disgraceful government is when, government's totally innocent. We're not innocent all the time, I hasten to add. We do make mistakes. We're not perfect. But in this instance, if the minute there is the minute there was the first case on the Isle of Man, I told everyone live. We didn't hide it. I've always promised the people of this island I'll be absolutely straight and honest and give you the updates. We've cut back down to, obviously, the Thursday briefing because the situation has considerably decreased, but if there is an increase, we will do briefings on a more regular we'll push it back up, the daily briefings to the public. So I think we've worked well. We're in this position because we've told the public everything, we've given the advice, we've kept the public up to date with what's going on. People have respected that information and acted on that information, and that's why we're day 55 without a case.
1:45 on Manx Radio, the Man in Line today, live with the Chief Minister. Tomorrow we'll be out and about. Our first outside broadcast since being at QE2 school before the pandemic hit. Tomorrow we're celebrating 120 years of the Gaiety Theatre on Douglas Promenade. It's also the architect Frank Matcham's centenary as well. Live out and about tomorrow. In the meantime, the Chief Minister's here between now and 1 o'clock.
Milan Vets would like to reassure you that we're still open for emergencies and sick animals during this time. We're starting to do routine procedures, but these must be risk assessed by a vet and booked in on a case-by-case basis. For prescription and food order requests and non-urgent appointment enquiries, email admin@milanvets.co.uk. For small animals, call 674-076, and for large animals and equine, call 674-532. For opening times and more information, visit our Facebook page, Milan Veterinary Practice.
A slow, even burn, a wisp of smoke and heat to pack a punch. My dad used to say making a proper fire was an art. Me, I use the Snuggin Ramsay for all my wood-burning stove and chimney maintenance needs. With over 10 years' experience from sweeping flues, servicing stoves, diagnostic and remedial services, their team of het-ass engineers have mastered the art of keeping you and your stove safe and snug. Call the Snug now on 818-187. Warming the heart of island homes for 10 years.
Take a tip from me. You can make a lot more of your garden when you visit Ramsey Garden Centre. They've everything you need to make your outdoors magical, from seasonal bedding and perennials to beautiful roses, shrubs and more. Light up your garden with their solar lighting and get inspired in their summer garden room, all at Ramsey Garden Centre. For all your garden needs, including expert help and advice, call 816-506 or pop into Ramsey Garden Centre, Albert Road, Ramsey. Open 7 days a week.
For home appliances, it has to be Waltons. Samsung and Hotpoint ranges in stock, and we deliver. Visit waltons.im. That's waltons.im. Or call 611 711.
Hi, Jane. We must get that lunch we keep talking about. How about tomorrow? Great idea. Oh, I know this great place, Port St Mary Golf Pavilion. I was there for a birthday party the other day. The food is fantastic. Oh, yeah. I was there on Sunday for the carvery. They've done it up really nicely. Did you try the homemade cakes? Wow. Yes, I did. They're definitely worth the calories. Talking of calories, I'm off to the gym. I'll do extra to make up for that cake we're going to have.
For menus and opening hours, visit psmpavilion.im.
With people carrying less spare change in their pockets, it's becoming harder for them to make spontaneous donations to charity. So we wanted to make it easier for you to support your hospice. Introducing Tap to Donate. By tapping your contactless payment device on one of our terminals in a shop, you can help us to help you. Because every penny donated really does make a life-changing difference. To find out more, Go to hospice.org.im/tap to donate.
A 65-inch Samsung TV, a fridge freezer, a double bed and an Apple Watch. We have had some huge prizes so far on Manx Radio's winning weekend wordplay.
And the fun continues this weekend with another big giveaway. This time you could win £500 to spend at Lifestyle Furniture on the Snugborough Trading Estate.
If you haven't joined in yet, all you have to do is keep listening all day Saturday and Sunday for the window of opportunity to open. Listen out for the code word on air, check the code word on our Facebook page, put together the famous phrase or saying, and you will go into the big prize draw.
And we'll announce the winner on Monday's breakfast show at 10 to 9.
Manx Radio's winning weekend wordplay this Saturday and Sunday with Lifestyle Furniture.
The Mannin Line with Andy Wint. Furnished by Magic Carpets.
The Chief Minister with us through till 1 o'clock today on Manx Radio. Let's go back to the answer phone.
I'd like to ask the Chief Minister why, when we can now go over to England or further afield, we still can't go to either our doctors, to clinics at Nobles, or even to Markwell House after 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Thank you.
Well, I suppose we're trying to open up everything as quickly as possible, and you can go and see your GP if you speak to the doctor's surgery and they feel it's important that you do come in to see them face to face. That is happening now. We're trying to open up our endoscopy, our operations for hips and knees. But when you've closed all those down and you've transferred staff to other areas of the hospital in readiness for a COVID-19 pandemic, it's not just a case of flicking a switch and being able to start up all over again. You've got to put certain procedures in place to make sure that it's safe and get all the staff back. So it's not easy, but we are working, our medics are working hard to get all our facilities back on track, and it won't be long, hopefully, before you can regularly go to see your doctor. But I think it's important that at this moment in time, doctors decide whether there's a need for you to come in or not. That's for them to decide, not for politicians.
OK, Colin, you're live with the Chief Minister.
Oh, yeah, good afternoon, Chief Minister.
Good afternoon, Colin.
People coming from Guernsey, they don't have to quarantine on the Isle of Man. What is to stop someone in England wants to come to the Isle of Man, say like my son, flies to Guernsey and gets an interconnecting flight to the Isle of Man? He doesn't have to quarantine then.
Well, there are checks from the Guernsey end and from the Isle of Man end on who's going, so that would stop that from happening. Guernsey do not allow anyone in to their island unless it's locals or key workers. They're exactly the same as ourselves, so you cannot just rack up in Guernsey and then jump on a flight to the Isle of Man. A, you'd have to book it, and they're all sold out, I'm told, at this moment in time, because I know I tried to go myself. But B, as I say, they don't allow anyone from the UK to come into Guernsey unless it's a local resident who's been away and is coming back.
Oh, thank you very much, yes, because I thought there could be like a little bit of a loophole there.
Yeah, no, and I know Guernsey aren't allowing Jersey, for example. Jersey aren't in the position that Guernsey and the Isle of Man are, and so people from Jersey can't go to visit Guernsey. So Guernsey and ourselves are in a very similar position, which is why the Chief Minister, Gavin St Pierre, and myself have been able to come up with this system of no quarantine so people can have a break. Obviously, being sensible and keeping a record of where you go, etc.
OK, thank you, Colin. Good to hear from you. Let's put COVID to one side. Brexit, Chief Minister.
Yes, Brexit has reared its head. Obviously, the Prime Minister, Boris Johnson, whether you agreed with him or not, got Brexit done at the end of last year. However, there's still negotiations between the United Kingdom and the European Union teams on what deal, if any, will happen, because at the end of December, 31st of December this year, that's it. We move into whatever deal they've agreed or no deal. Now,
no ifs, buts or maybes.
No, well, the European Union did offer the British government an extension, and I think they said non-mercy. We're going to leave on the 31st of December. So obviously, from an Isle of Man point of view, I've been wanting to ensure that the interests and the concerns of the people of the Isle of Man are represented by the UK government when they're doing these negotiations. Freedom of movement of people to go to the European Union and goods has been absolutely key. Sticking points at the moment are in the negotiations between the UK and the European Union are on compliance. Obviously, the European Union want their European Court of Justice to be the dispute resolution place, and the UK is saying absolutely no. The European Union want to come into the British waters to fish in our 0 to 12 miles, and the UK are saying absolutely no. So there's lots of sabre rattling going on at the moment. There's lots of hard work going on behind the scenes, and I've got to make sure that my DEFRA officials and our customs and excise officials and all the departments that are affected by whatever happens with Brexit are in the loop, speaking regularly on a weekly basis to their UK counterparts. I speak to Penny Mordaunt, who's the Paymaster General, number 2 in the Department of Home Affairs, to ensure that the Isle of Man interests are known, and we're going to have to move quickly. The month of July into August is a key time.
And do you think this is going to be nil balance, or will the Isle of Man be worse off?
Well, I'm hopeful that goods will... The one area where they seem to have agreement is the flow of goods. So manufactured goods, agricultural products off the island into the UK, into the European Union, that will freely be allowed. Some of it, I've been trying to get as much as Protocol 3 might have been a bolt-on at the last minute for the Crown dependencies, but it actually worked really well. And I've been looking to have some sort of equivalence of Protocol 3 going forward. I think we may have to give more from a compliance point of view just to keep what we've got. That's what's being negotiated at the moment. It's all up in the air at the moment. Nobody knows which way it's going to go, and I've just got to make sure that we keep speaking to the key people so that when it does happen and the Isle of Man's views have been put forward, we can react quickly and hit the ground running.
Thanks for your calls, texts and emails to the Chief Minister today. We're out of time now. Chief Minister, what's your final word to the people of the Isle of Man today?
Well, can I a big thank you, personally from me, for the hundreds and hundreds of people who've sent me cards, letters, emails, text messages, Facebook, you name it. I can't respond to everyone, but I really have been touched by the kindness of everyone who's contacted me, especially when I was ill. A big thank you for everyone following the rules. The vast majority of our island did. There were a few exceptions, and they paid the price, but the great people of the Isle of Man got us in this fantastic position, so thank you very, very much.
And thanks for being with us today.
Thank you very much,
all the
Andy.
best for the future. The Chief Minister will, of course, be on the weekly briefings. Hopefully, if he's out of Coman in time, we'll talk to him tomorrow at the Gaiety Theatre. Howard Quayle, MHK, has been with us on the Mannin line. Howard Kane has been our studio producer today. I'm Andy Wynn, and we're back live at the Gaiety Theatre tomorrow, and open line on Friday at 12 midday.
WINT Q+.co.uk